The footage from Caitlin Clark's European training session didn't just leak. It erupted across the internet like a jolt of electricity, sending shockwaves through every corner of the basketball world. For months, fans had been begging for proof that somewhere, anywhere, a league existed where the most gifted scorer of her generation could finally breathe, play, and thrive without being dragged into chaos. And then suddenly there it was. A brief clip, a few perfect plays, a few glowing smiles, and an unmistakable truth shining through the frame. Europe treats Caitlin Clark the way a superstar should be treated. With respect. With admiration. With protection. With the understanding that when you have someone special, someone rare, someone who elevates the entire sport just by stepping onto the court, you build around that. You honor it. You appreciate it. And that contrast, that visual proof of her joy and freedom, instantly exposed everything the WNBA mishandled. Because the difference in her demeanor is startling. In Europe, Caitlin Clark looks like herself again. Confident. Loose. Free. A player who isn't bracing for the next cheap shot or wondering whether referees will swallow the whistle while someone takes a swing at her. A player who isn't dodging hostility disguised as physicality, or walking into an arena knowing half the players on the floor resent the attention she brings. The leaked footage shows the opposite. Pure basketball. High-level competition. Skill. Strategy. Camaraderie. Professionalism. Clark hits threes with ease, tosses no-look passes like it's nothing, and laughs, really laughs, the way someone laughs when the game they love stops being a battlefield and becomes a sanctuary again. Europe gave her something the WNBA refused to give her for an entire season. Space to breathe. Space to shine. Space to be great without being punished for it. And now the question everyone keeps asking is simple. Why did she leave? The answer is just as simple. The WNBA pushed her away. The league allowed her to be shoved, elbowed, tripped, poked in the eye, and thrown to the ground week after week while referees pretended not to see it. They allowed jealousy, resentment, and racial tensions to boil over without ever stepping in to protect the player who single-handedly resurrected their relevance. They allowed their brightest star to be treated as a target instead of an asset. They allowed the narrative around her to be hijacked until the league became defined not by her brilliance, but by the hostility she endured. No league with self-respect behaves that way. No league with vision behaves that way. No league that understands business, marketing, or growth behaves that way. Europe saw the WNBA's negligence and swooped in with everything Clark deserved. Respect, support, safety, money, prestige, and above all else, a promise that the game will be the focus, not the drama. Her training footage made something crystal clear. She didn't just leave the WNBA. She escaped it. She wasn't running from competition. She was running from chaos. She wasn't avoiding physicality. She was avoiding targeted aggression. She wasn't afraid of the league. She was tired of being the only one forced to suffer for carrying it. And now the WNBA is scrambling to figure out how they let this happen. Their new travel improvements, their sudden investments, their desperate attempts to show they care, they all came too late. Because the truth is, Caitlin Clark was the WNBA's lifeline. The league's ticket to mainstream relevance. The player who shattered records before she even stepped onto a professional court. The rookie who boosted ratings by 142% and drove ticket prices into NBA territory. The one athlete capable of making casual fans tune in, sponsors invest, and the next generation dream. And instead of nurturing that gift, the WNBA tested how much punishment she could take before she finally walked away. Well, now they know. And Europe has gained what they lost. She is no longer being shoved into chairs or body-checked into the baseline. She's not dealing with players who hate her simply because she is straight, white, popular, or profitable. She isn't being ridiculed for the attention she earned. She isn't fighting her own league for respect. She is simply playing basketball the way the sport was meant to be played, clean, competitive, and elite. That alone has been enough to send fans into a frenzy. Countries like Spain and Turkey are already buzzing. France too. Clips of her training are being shared internationally. People who never watched women's basketball before are suddenly searching for European schedules, streaming options, and fan pages. Caitlin Clark is no longer just an American superstar. She's becoming a global one. Meanwhile, the league she left behind is suffering the consequences of its own arrogance. Without Clark, attendance drops. Engagement plummets. Sponsors hesitate. Interest declines. The league built an entire advertising campaign around her while simultaneously creating an environment that made it intolerable for her to stay. And now they stand in the rubble of their own mistakes, wondering how the WNBA will move forward without the player who carried it into the mainstream. Her leaked footage doesn't just show her training. It shows the future. A future where women's basketball thrives globally, not because the WNBA forced it, but because Caitlin Clark lifted it. A future where she earns real money, real respect, and real opportunities. A future where she plays in a league that appreciates greatness instead of fearing it. And more importantly, a future where the narrative finally shifts from chaos to excellence. This moment marks the beginning of a new chapter not only for Clark, but for the sport itself. She looks revitalized, re-energized, and refocused. Her confidence radiates through every shot, every pass, every grin she flashes. She is playing with joy again, and that joy is contagious. The world is watching her ascent with renewed excitement, realizing that this is only the start of something far bigger than anyone anticipated. Caitlin Clark is not just reclaiming her game. She is reclaiming her legacy. If this story grabbed you, make sure to hit the like button so YouTube knows more fans need to see it. Subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest basketball stories shaping the sport right now. And tell me in the comments, did the WNBA lose Caitlin Clark forever, or do you think she'll make a historic return someday? Your voice matters, and this conversation is only getting started.